Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Our guest today has more than 30 years of experience in finance and public company management. He will deep dive into the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, the US and their dependency on Russian uranium, as well as the company's high-level overview, definitive and option agreements, permits, balance sheet, and the key metrics investors should be watching out for. He is the president, CEO, and CFO of Pegasus Resources. Charles Desjardins is joining us today. But before we bring you Charles's interview, could you do me one quick favor and just go ahead and smash that subscribe button for me, please? Hey, Charles, welcome to The Dive.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so last week, the SEC rejected the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust proposal to list on the NYSE, citing a failure to meet listing standards. What impact do you think this news has on the uranium market?
I don't think it has any long-term impact. I mean, Sprott tying up uranium resources was good for the supply-demand scenario, but long-term, it really won't have much of an effect. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sprott move to another market, like maybe London or something like that, and get picked up. But yeah, they didn't really fit for the NYSE anyway.
Now, according to Senator John Barrasso, Russia received nearly $1 billion for uranium products in 2021. With all the sanctions given by the US against Russia due to the ongoing geopolitical tensions, do you think that the US has the ability to reduce dependency on Russian uranium?
It definitely does. Like, there's a lot of uranium assets in not just the US, but in Canada as well that are available. The real question is, do we have the ability to replace the enriched uranium? Because they supply a third of the world's enriched uranium. So that's going to take a little bit of time. Like, the uranium markets in North America are caught a little bit flat-footed on that point, but there are a couple places where we can enrich uranium, but they're going to have to pick up the ability to do that.
So Charles, for all of our guests new to your story, what is the high-level elevator pitch for Pegasus Resources?
Pegasus is a company that got into the uranium exploration and development area early on. So we picked up some really good assets in Canada and the US. We feel that this is going to be a great area going forward with the world moving to a green economy, and uranium has basically got to be part of the equation if you want to power all these electric vehicles, etc.
Now, I heard the company has entered into a definitive agreement with Trillium Gold and Imagine Lithium pertaining to claims within the Confederation Lake region. Can you walk us through the agreement, and what does this mean for the company?
So basically, these were assets that we were working on before we got into the uranium space. We're basically getting a lot of stock and cash from those two companies for these assets. One asset in this deal we ended up getting back because it was part of an agreement with Noranda Resources, which became Glencore, which became Estrata, and they were unable to figure out the area of influence. So we're getting that back, and we will probably resell it here in short order. The biggest asset there is a zinc property that has about a 2 million ton historic resource of 8.5% zinc, which zinc is in very high demand right now. So for what we paid for it, I think we will flip this asset for 2 to 3 times what we paid for it.
So you also announced the commencement of the application process for permits to start an initial program at the Mawsey Lake uranium property. Could you give us some more color on this?
Sure. So this property is just outside the northeast side of the Athabasca Basin, and it's in kind of like a pegmatite system. It's got a historic resource of about 530,000 pounds. But from the data that we've seen, there's a couple other zones right up on trend from it that we think we can basically grow that resource significantly.
You also received a permit approval from the Saskatchewan Ministry of Environment for the initial exploration at the Pine Channel Uranium Project. What sort of results are you hoping to see from the program, and when do you expect to start the field work?
So the initial program is a radon cup survey and electromagnetics survey. What that does is just kind of pinpoint the hot spots on the two conductors that are there, one which has never really been explored. The really nice thing about that project, though, is when you're drilling in the Athabasca Basin, you're drilling to the unconformity or the basement rock. And the depth to basement on the Pine Channel project is like 50 to 100 meters, which is extremely shallow and excellent for a junior because you can drill a lot of holes cheaply and stuff like that. So the ground program itself should start in about June 12th, I think. And that first part of the program will probably take about a month, and then hope to drill that project probably early fall.
Now, you also signed an option agreement in South Dakota. What is the strategy for this acquisition?
This is really where I wanted to go for quite a while. So the South Dakota project is called the Cord property, and it's a in situ recovery situation, we believe. There's a mine right above us going into production that's been permitted, that is ISR. The nice thing about ISR is you can produce really cheaply, and it has a very small environmental footprint. There's very little damage done to the environment, or you don't have to dig a big open pit or anything like that. It's basically like a flushing system. So it's awesome.
So is that how the company is managing to pay for all of these projects? Like, how are you balancing the sheet given all these projects?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're getting a lot of cash in stock from other things that we've sold in the last little while. So that's funding all the near-term exploration and stuff. We won't have to go to market probably till fall.
Okay, so one more question before we let you go here, Charles. What are the key metrics investors should be watching out for with Pegasus Resources?
The key milestones are keep moving forward on permitting all our projects. On the South Dakota property, there's been an extensive amount of work done there before. Union Carbide almost put it into production. There's a lot of holes there that we think we can re-enter and get a lot of the information that we need about the water table and it being amenable to in situ recovery. So those milestones are going to be the key ones this year. Hope to be drilling on Pine Channel by the end of this year, and possibly South Dakota by the end of this year.
Okay, well, it all sounds great. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story with us, Charles.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with the latest news and updates. So be sure to follow along by hitting that notification bell before you go.